Welcome back to the Sherwood Urban Farm. In today's video we are going to do a late spring garden tour. I'm very excited. I'm so pleased with the way the drip irrigation is performing with the pulse watering system that I've got going. I'm going to show you. It is just amazing. Come along, let's have a look at what this garden is looking like. So over here, this is my baby marrow, zucchini, whatever else you call it, bed. I have planted about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got about 5 or 6 plants in here. Some of them didn't do so well. It's interesting, this side, they've grown bigger as compared to that side, but they're getting along. I've gotten some really nice baby marrows so far. You've got to be on your game with these things because they grow so fast. The next thing, they're not baby anymore. They're just these big marrows. But I'm so pleased with them. These are volunteer marigolds. They just keep coming up. I have to watch them because they get really big. They're not the dwarf variety. And the end, I have got some Mexican fleabane. I just love Mexican fleabane. It's so pretty and the bees love it, and it just brightens up the vegetable garden. And then in the next 2 beds I have golden bantam sweet corn. And I mean, look at the size of them. If you look at last year, I had sweet corn on that side before I redid that whole side, and they grew about this high. I hardly had anything. These are the bantam variety, so I'm so pleased with how they are growing. We haven't had too many windy days, so if you look, I don't know if you'll be able to see now. You can't see now, but the pollen is able to fall down nicely. Sometimes I take one of these little strands and then I will go over the silks just to make sure that I get good pollination. But previously, in previous years, I've had so much wind, then the pollen just blows away and doesn't actually land down on the silks. So that's doing well. And I have in between, these are volunteer cocktail tomatoes that have come up, and there's a butternut. There's a butternut that's busy creeping all along underneath. I haven't done the 3 sisters. I've got 2 sisters because I don't like climbing beans. They're just too much. I prefer the bush beans. I'll show you those in a minute. But so they are just going along, providing almost like a living mulch. So they're protecting the soil and keeping it nice and cool. And then from the other bed, which I'll show you in a minute, I have a pumpkin that is coming through, and there is my one of 2 pumpkins, which, wow, they just grow so big. So I'm very pleased. I'm hoping to get more because I was thinking I've only got 1 butternut plant on this side. On the other side, number 5, I've got more, but I'd rather actually have more. Like, let's say I get 6 pumpkin like this, as opposed to a whole bunch of little butternut. Then I can process that and freeze it. Then I'll have pumpkin for the rest of over winter, which is just grand. I've got some more sweet corn here. There's the bantam variety, golden bantam. So what I did with these ones, because I've struggled so much in the past to germinate them, they'd often just rot. Last year I used 3 seed packets and I probably got like 10 germinations out there. So this one, I first put them in like you do as a school project. I put them in the wet cotton wool. I think I used paper towel. Let them germinate first, and then once they had started with their first shoot, then I planted them, and it's worked a treat. So I'm really pleased with this. And then I got 2 boerpampoen plants that are going along. Actually, they're just everywhere. I mean, you can see the size of these things' leaves. They're just massive. And no, so far only 2 pumpkin, but I'm trusting that there are going to be more. Guys, take a look. I have another rack of bananas coming along, and they are looking really good. These banana trees are thirsty. They take up a lot of water. This bed I actually have left to a volunteer tomato. I had carrots in here. Carrots did great, and I've got thyme, but I've sort of left it actually because it's not as moist as I would like it to be, because these trees are just they take up a lot of water. I mean, when you chop down the stem, once this has been when it's finished, then it absolutely just drips with water. So you just got to know that these things are very thirsty. But it's worth it when you get your own homegrown organic bananas. You can't beat that. It's a bit difficult to get a footing here with this massive chrysanthemum. I had, they were volunteers. They came up from last year's sowing. So I transplanted them here and they look beautiful, but they do flop over and they're very big. There's a lot of bees, so I'm a little bit nervous of being stung. But in this bed down here, I've put the strawberries, and they're actually in there and they're looking okay. The sweet potatoes, which are also volunteers, are busy covering them, so I'll have to move them along. I wanted a dedicated strawberry patch, so this one is going to be sort of that. It is not as, like I said with this previous bed, it's not as moist as I would like it to be. Maybe I'll run another line along these two beds just to add a bit more moisture to them. But the strawberries do seem to be doing fine. So underneath all the chrysanthemums, I have got a beautiful blueberry bush. It is full of blueberries. It's the best I've ever done as far as blueberries go. I think well, this one I transplanted recently. I bought this bush in George. They have a nursery there, and it just they're not very expensive, and they are just prolific. I think this one, yeah, this one's called Biloxi, and it is just, I mean, I bought it last year. And here it is. It's doing amazing. My blackberries have recovered from very harsh pruning 2 years ago. They're growing all over the place. And underneath the blackberries over here I have a pot with some more thyme. And then here, I don't want to pull this pot up because it's actually rooted into the ground, is the creeping oregano. And it is just doing so well. I must actually, oh well, there we go. The sweet potatoes are just taking over their vines. So I just want to send them that way. But yeah, incredible. And then in this bed, I have, these are the Spanish Santa cocktail tomatoes. They are producing like crazy. It's so nice because we've been getting a fair amount of rain for November. And also the pests before November to get that much rain, and it's not too hot, and the pests haven't come out yet. So everything is just looking so beautiful. You know, December will come and then we have pest pressure again. Even with these, I've uncovered them now just so that you can see them, but all my blueberries I cover with old net curtaining because the birds are just like the mouse birds, and then there's another one, I think it's a bulbul. Anyways, they just love the berries. They love them as much as I do. So they mine, I cover them up. And then you can see my trellising method. It's not very high grade. I have one lead. I break off all the little side shoots, and then I just send it around here. A popsicle stick and a peg, guys. It's really, really low tech indeed. So I've done that with all of those. Those ones need to be done as well. But here it is. Oh, this, I thought this was a cocktail tomato, but actually this is a, on my hat it is. This is a cocktail tomato. It just looked so different. I thought it was a window box, what is it called? Window box red or something, because the leaves just looked so compact. Anyways, it was a volunteer. Maybe it is a cross. Maybe they crossed because I had them both in the garden last year. Anyway, here they are. But I'm so pleased because last season I lost almost all my tomatoes to blight because we had a lot of rain, but there was just so many overcast days. So this season it's doing much better. So on this side, I've got a smaller tall like raised bed. All of my beds have got the drip tape in them, and so this is black Tuscan kale. It took a long time to get going, but now it's producing crazy. It's really very prolific. And then just underneath it is another blueberry bush. This one didn't perform as well, but I did get a few blueberries, but not as many as that Biloxi. there is a lot of new growth, so I'm pleased with that. And then along the back here, I've got my blackberries. I'm hoping to sort of almost cover this wall with the blackberries. On this side, these are emerald tomatoes. Some of them on the other side have already started. I've picked some of them, and they look beautiful, and they are, I mean, it's incredible to see. They are very prolific. You can see that there's loads of tomatoes here. I don't prune them. I just leave them to ramble about. I didn't expect them to get this big. And there are cucumbers plants back there, which I had imagined were going to grow up, but the tomato grew too fast, and so they are struggling along at the back there. But that's fine because I've put cucumbers on that side. But I've got a number of these. It's not very sweet tomato, and the first ones were a little bit granularly, so I wasn't very excited, but I want to make a lot of tomato sauce. And what is nice about them is that they don't actually have a lot of seeds in them, so there's a lot of flesh, not very sweet, but that's fine for canning. So that's my plan. I'm going to do canning with these tomatoes. They are quite resistant to a lot of things, not to blight, but I haven't had blight, so thank you Jesus, no blight. But they are really doing well, so I'm hoping I'll be able to can enough tomato sauce for the whole of winter. But we'll see how that goes. One always has one's plans, but they don't always work out so well. In the L-shaped bed, I think, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 of those emerald tomato plants, and then underneath them there are beans, the bush beans. So they've been doing, I mean, you can see here, they're doing very well. A lot of beans. They're actually doing better than I have ever actually had. I mean, you can see the size of this plant. Maybe it's because they don't get as much sun. When I've had them in the middle of the back garden in those tall raised beds, oh my hat, it gets so hot there, and they seem to take a little bit of strain, although they produce fine. But I do see there is, I think it's either thrips or leaf hoppers. There is a little bit of damage on their leaves. But sometimes then I just leave it, and then the natural predators will come and they will sort them out. So I'm hoping that will be the case. And then over here, here's one of my cucumbers. These ones are doing better because I think they get a little bit more sun. The ones down there, they've got, maybe it's red mites, red spider mites. It could actually be red spider mites. Yeah, that's what it is. It's red spider mites. Maybe I'll spray with some neem because those things are quite a pest. This is another blueberry. This one didn't do very well at all. It took strain from last year, and you see it's been covered here by this butternut. This is actually a volunteer butternut that came up over winter, and I left it. I thought it would just die, but it didn't. So here it is. But there's a lot of new growth, so I'm hoping next year it will do better. It does have this Mexican flea bane growing. I hope that's not going to be a problem for it. It might actually be to its advantage, just so that it doesn't get too much sun. I mean, the sun is just so hot. So this, like I said, this is a butternut. I had visions of growing cucumbers all around here, and then this guy just took over. So it hasn't even flowered yet. So we'll see. I hope it's not just going to be a dud. Anyways, maybe it'll flower later on, but it's certainly got a lot of leaves. And underneath is some more bush beans. They've been taking strain because I keep having to prune the leaves which come over it. But at least on this side, the bush beans are doing much better. And then the cucumbers, they're coming along, but they're not great. Yeah, they're not great. Here's one tiddly little thing, which is, it's just so interesting because normally when I grow cucumbers in the raised beds, they do amazingly. When I grow them in ground, then they look like this. So these are, they're yellow, they just seem to be stunted. I don't know what's going on there. And there's a lot of moisture. Yeah, no, there's a lot of moisture. Anyway, who knows? But in the corner, I've got a little aubergine or eggplant. This came up by itself. So I think what happened was I threw out what I thought was a bunch of old seeds, and they into the compost. So this one came up, and there it is in the perfect position, and it's got a number of flowers on it, and it's looking beautiful. So I'm quite pleased with that. So my lemon tree is not fruiting as much as it did, obviously, because it had such a hard prune. There are some flowers on the other side coming along, but it is quite something to not have as many lemons as you want. And I've had to buy lemons, which is quite disturbing. Anyways, it will recover, I'm sure. On this side, I have another blueberry. I really love blueberries. I want to get more. This one is just incredible. It's got huge fruit. The little labels come off, so I don't know what variety it is. But, I mean, the fruit, they're like marbles. They're just so big. So I normally have it covered. But there it is. Loads of fruit on it. Down here, I have a salvia, just for decoration. I don't know if it's edible. But I want to have a lot of flowers in the garden just to make it look pretty and to bring the pollinators. There's some maidenhair fern. I had left this coriander to go to seed because I like to use the seeds in the kitchen, but I've noticed that a lot of them are missing. So I think the birds have gotten to it before I could. And then creeping all along the bottom of the lemon tree is the creeping oregano. It's also doing amazing. I'm going to make a oregano pesto with that. For the first time, I'm able to grow comfrey. So I'm like really pleased, because normally, I mean, in George, where my family live, it rains so much, the comfrey is like a weed there. So this, because I've now got the drip system in, it's doing amazingly. So it is hidden here behind the lemon tree, but I'm really pleased with it. I'm hoping it will actually spread all around the lemon tree. Then in my pallet box underneath the lemon tree, I have potatoes, but these are volunteer potatoes. So the potato plants that were in before here, they got some kind of disease, blight, whatever. It was over winter, so I didn't really mind. I got a few little baby potatoes and I was happy with it. So obviously I didn't get them all out, and here they are, and they are growing so beautifully. I think they got a blight, but so then I didn't want to plant more potatoes because I thought, oh, it's now in the ground and they're just going to die. But really, even over there, the tomatoes that had blight last year, they're doing fine. I think it's really got to do with the conditions. It's got to be just right. The blight probably just sits there, but if the conditions are right, then it'll bloom, much to the gardener's disgust. But yeah, and then wipe out all your plants. And then I have got one butternut plant. Sorry. Oh, lost that one. Shield bugs, they love to damage your butternuts. Anyways, but so far it's coming along, but it's not doing as great as well as the ones over there, probably because of the light. I mean, it gets afternoon shade, but when it starts sprawling over here, I'm sure it'll do well. And then underneath I have some chrysanthemum, and I've got other little chrysanthemums, and what else have I got here? Alyssum. And then in the buckets over here, I have still got my carrots from the beginning of the year, and I'm just progressively harvesting out of these buckets. It keeps us in carrots for a long time. They're actually quite sweet compared to the ones that were in ground, and they go nice and long. I probably should have thinned them out a little. I probably should have, but as I'm picking them, they're thinning and they are growing. So I'll have carrots over summertime. Excuse me, so that's my earthworm. Thank you. Last mention, shout out to my dad who gave me this fig. It is a Adam's fig. Makes beautiful like purple figs. It was just a stick when it came from George, and now look how beautiful it's doing. So I am going to pot it up next year. It came in a little pot like this, so it's already filled. Its whole root system is full in there. But I will only put it on next year. It is just doing so great. I'm going to wind up this video on the kitchen garden now, And my next video will be on the tall raised beds and the in-ground beds in the backyard. This video has just taken so long for me to finally just finish it up. It's probably been 2 days since I last filmed, and I've finally got some time now this evening, golden hour, and it's looking amazing. So I just wanted to show you what's happening. It's now actually not even late spring, it's now early summer, and we are jamming in this garden. There is just so much growing on here. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe and share with your friends, and I will see you in the next video.